thought about it and thought about it and thought about it some more and came to the conclusion that I don't care that billionaires are out there building bunkers.
because you're human, and I was human. I am human still.
So guess what? This story about Zuckerberg, it's just a big nothing burg. Sure, it makes for great headlines because people start thinking like, man, what are those evil rich billionaires up to? I read that 15 of them are building bunkers. Or there's some conspiracy. What do they know that I don't know? And why wasn't I invited to the party? And what's going to happen after the nuclear holocaust? I guess they'll emerge from their bunkers and rule over civilization and enslave us all, right? Yeah, makes for great headlines, but really doesn't go anywhere. And to me personally, is a waste of time. Which reminds me, wasting time, getting sucked into fake news, politics, conspiracy theories, that's just one of the 5 big mistakes and regrets I'm going to share with you in this video, in the hopes that in 2024, you do a little better than I've done in the past. It's easy to acquire gear. It's a different story to take said gear and go train with it and evolve with it. But you absolutely have to do that to understand your limits, your capabilities, to understand your gear and actually be a legit survivalist. It would almost be the same as me having a lot of money, purchasing a Ferrari, and just by the fact of me having a Ferrari, thinking I'm a Formula One race car driver. Yeah, that would be kind of delusional. So yeah, the crazy thing is I actually have to train. I have to be intentional. I have to like dedicate time to this. I have to make mistakes and I have to evolve in order to be an actual survivalist or prepper, right? It just can't be YouTube and book knowledge. And now moving on to number 2. I bought in heavily in the beginning to conspiracy theories, arguing politics online and all that BS, right? And my God, what a waste of time. I'll never know what they know. I'll never be privy to the knowledge that they have. I'm just an outsider. I'm just an observer with like a very, very, very limited amount of information that's provided to me by media outlets that are prone to lying pretty much all the time. In the end, I kind of stepped back a little bit and thought, man, in my opinion, there's no political solution. We are way too far gone as a country. So I'm just going to focus on the things I can control. Sure, I'm going to keep an eye on world events and politics from a very high level so I know what the hell is going on. But I'm not going to let myself get sucked into that vortex of irritation and discontent and anger over a bunch of crap that I have zero control over. So number 1 is easy, just buy gear. Who everybody can do that. Number 2 is also easy, arguing online, keyboard commando. Which brings us to number 3, another very easy mistake to make. Don't network. Be Rambo. Be the lone wolf. Be isolated. Sure, that looks great in Hollywood. Doesn't work out so good in real life. I had to kind of get outside my comfort zone and actually meet people in real life and find out who was crazy, who wasn't, and who I could really work with. And that was a huge game changer. Number 4, and this kind of ties back to number 2 with the conspiracy theories and fake news and politics. I didn't plan for real world survival situations. I guess it was much cooler to plan for a zombie apocalypse or a nuclear holocaust or Yellowstone exploding or EMP attacks or whatever, right? I guess that's more cool. But yeah, I mean, are those things possible? Sure. But are they probable? Probably not. And if something of that scale actually happens, my pitiful preps are probably not going to go very far anyway. So what I discovered was the best thing to do was just simply stay focused on localized events that are going to happen in my area. I live in the deep south. I live near the coast, so hurricanes, bad weather, flooding, those things are a big deal, and also, of course, civil unrest. So those are the things I prepare for now, and yeah, I might have a backup of radiation pills or whatever. But like I said, if we get nuked, listen, we're all fucked. And finally, number 5, and this is another easy one to do. is just completely ignore all the other aspects of survivalism, from financial freedom to physical fitness and beyond, right? So, yeah, you can acquire all the gear and do all these things, but listen, if you go to your doctor and your doctor's like, listen, bro, you're 40 pounds overweight, you're pre diabetic, your blood pressure's out through the roof, you got to do something. Well, guess what? That's an SHTF situation right there in front of your face in real life. Because if you don't fix yourself physically, how do you expect to survive? How do you expect to use your gear and act accordingly? Right? Yeah, it's probably not going to happen very well. What's going to happen if maybe you have a kind of a nagging addiction that you don't want to admit to with drugs and alcohol? Maybe you're a heavy drinker or you smoke cigarettes or whatever. I've been guilty of all these things too myself. And, the S hits the fan. Wow, that's going to suck for a lot of people who are addicted to drugs and alcohol and prescription pills. So, getting free of those things was a huge thing that I had to do, right? Finding financial freedom, also a big one, right? Because I can own a lot of stuff, I can have a lot of gear, but if it's all on credit, what does that make me? I'm not very self reliant. If anything, I'm a slave to the things that I supposedly own. As I realized these mistakes, I started to try to make changes, but I ran into a huge roadblock. And it might have been something that you've experienced as well. I just didn't have enough time. I was just too busy. I was definitely that guy who said, man, I would love to do that, but just don't have enough time. So I had to sit down and like kind of have a come to Jesus moment with myself and be real honest and say, well, listen, dude, how are you spending your time? Well, it turns out I was wasting a lot of time on social media, doom scrolling, wasting a ton of time on conspiracy theories, wasting a ton of time arguing politics with people who don't care about me, who I'll never meet in real life, and who I will probably never convince that I'm right. So the only course of action was to stop all that, stop arguing online, delete all the social media accounts, and turn off the notifications on the phone. And then suddenly I had a ton more time for training, for lifting heavy things and putting them back down again, and networking with like minded people, for setting up survival strategies for my area, for situations that I'm most likely to encounter, versus planning and preparing for Mount St. Helens or Yellowstone or nuclear war or EMPs or alien invasion. So I had to be very frugal with my time, and I really had to establish some hard and fast boundaries. And some people didn't like that, but it paid off in the long run. And then the other thing I had to be frugal with and establish some boundaries and some guidelines was how I spent my money. So I had to make some changes. I had to be honest with myself, and I had to stop eating out as much. I had to stop the frivolous spending, buying unneeded gear and impulsive shopping and all that kind of crap. And suddenly I had more money. So what did I do with all that extra money, which wasn't all that much, but seemed like a lot? Well, I built a home gym. I got back into jujitsu and boxing, paid off credit card debt, and did a whole lot of other things that kept my money tight. It kept it on point, and I really knew where my money was going, how it was being spent, and I had a lot more control over that in the long run. So I guess maybe the biggest takeaway here, guys, is figure out how you spend your time. Be very, very protective of your time, because you don't get it back. It's a finite asset. You can't just get more out of the bank of time. It's gone, right? Just like when you're done with this video, you'll think, wow, that was a great video. I'm glad I didn't waste my time watching that video. But yeah, manage your time, manage your money, and wow, you'll see a lot of great changes. The end game here for me is pretty simple. I want to be completely detached from the system. I don't want to owe the system any money, meaning that I want to be debt-free. I don't want to be reliant on the system for my water, my power, my heat, my food, my clothes, my housing, my healthcare. And I know that's a very lofty goal, but if I've learned anything in my short time on planet Earth, it's this. Set the goals high, because even if you don't reach that goal, even if you get 50% or 70% there, hell, you're going to be way further ahead than the rest of the world and way further ahead of yourself than if you set some little tiny goal. So what do they say? Think big, aim high, all that kind of good stuff. And in the end, it really is a process, right? So instead of trying to be perfect and everything has to be perfect, it's really just progress over perfection. And that's really the name of the game. And every day I get closer. And that could mean hitting a new PR in the gym, or linking up with some of my friends and doing a 3-day survival training trip in the mountains of Georgia, or paying off one of my credit cards. It could be any of those things, as long as I'm making progress towards that final goal. So with that being said, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I would love to hear some of the mistakes and regrets that you've made in your prepping, survivalist, self-reliant journey thing that you got going on. And I'll see you in the next video.